as chairperson and members of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC.
Chairman, Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, allow me to move that, taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs in its report on the vetting of nominees for appointment as chairperson and members of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 3rd June 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 25(2)(b) of the Constitution, approves the appointment of the following persons to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC. Number 1, Mr. Erastus Edung Ethcon, chairperson. Number 2, Ms. Anne Jerry Nderitu, member. Number 3, Mr. Moses Alutalala Muhwana, member. Number 4, Ms. Mary Karen Sorobit, member. Number 5, Mr. Hassan Nur Hassan, member. Number 6, Mr. Francis Othiambo Aduol, member. And number 7, Ms. Fahima Arafat Abdallah, member. Honorable Speaker and members, the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee held approval hearings for nominees to be appointed as moved on Saturday, a weekend. This was due to the fact that there was urgency in the matter due to the timelines and also the delay that had been caused by the court order that barred the vetting of the members the previous Monday. As a result, the committee had to burn midnight oil and also spent the entire day first evaluating the report of the selection panel and conducting the hearings physically, whereby all the 7 nominees appeared before the committee and were actually vetted. Allow me, Mr. Speaker, to thank members of the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee, all of them singularly and plurally, including the Vice Chair, the Honorable Mwengi Mutuse, who is here, Senior Counsel Otiende Amolo, who is here. I saw Dahoud Mohammed of Wajir East here, Johnny Makali of Kandui, Stephen Mogaka of West Mogirango, and the rest of them. All of them, as named in the report, played a key role in actually vetting these members and making this report, which was tendered to this House yesterday, an elaborate report. It's a bit long, but I hope every member has had a chance to read this report, to acquaint himself or herself with it, so that you know the reasons why the committee has made a recommendation that we approve the 7 nominees. The report begins with the chairperson's forward, in which observations are made, including compliance with the Constitution, the reasons why this was done on a Saturday, and the position we take regarding the court order that stopped vetting on the 26th of May. That indeed it appeared on the face of it that the courts were barring or injecting Parliament from carrying its duties. We took exception to that and pointed out that Parliament and the Speaker and the Speakers have ruled on this severally, cannot be injuncted from discharging its constitutional mandate. Be that as it may, this is a house of law. We obey the law as it is. Before we could evaluate the order, we had to obey first. Then after that, we had to evaluate what to do. And fortunately, the judge actually realized the mistake made. And on that Thursday, he was able to vary the order to what it is in the present form today. The first, chapter 1, which is the preface on the establishment of the committee, is self-speaking. Chapter 2, which is on the background information of the committee and the nominated members, is also self-speaking, and I will not go into this for purposes of saving on time. Chapter 3 is on the memoranda from the public on the suitability of the nominees, and we need to speak on this because there were various issues that were raised by several members of the public, and those issues are captured in chapter 3 of the report. On each member where there was any objection raised, we have not captured the approvals because we also received quite a huge amount of paperwork which were affidavits in approval. But since we are not required to consider these and table reports on them, because we are only required under the Approvals Act to discuss the objections, we did not capture the approvals. However, we have captured the objections as raised before the committee, and in chapter 3, the House can actually look at what was said about each. I will be commenting on this shortly. And number 4, it's on approval hearings. We have tried to capture this almost verbatim, what each of the nominees presented to us, right from their own opening statements, whereby they gave a history of themselves, and eventually we had to look at their academic background, experience in the works or in the various fields, and suitability, which is a requirement of the law when it comes to vetting. We looked at all this, and it is captured in chapter 4 of the report. Chapter 5 Chapter 4 is quite lengthy because I repeat, it captures almost verbatim what the nominees had to say, including their responses to the objections. Now, chapter 5, which is very important, is on our observations regarding the nominees, our committee observations on the nominees. We have observed whatever it is we took of interest and importance. We have set it in chapter 5 on each of these nominees, and chapter 6 is actually on our recommendations. Having evaluated these particular nominees, we did not hesitate to recommend that each of them be actually approved. Now, who are we approving as the nominees? For the chairperson of IEBC, we have Mr. Erastus Edung Evekon, who hails from Turkana. Number 1, he was one of the 2 persons who were forwarded to His Excellency the President for nomination, and he was picked from those 2. Then, as regards the process of nominating him, we were satisfied that the process was in compliance with the Constitution and in compliance with the Parliamentary Public Approvals Act. Mr. Evekon demonstrated knowledge of his area of specialty, which is law, and that he satisfies to be a judge of the Supreme Court, which is a requirement for his appointment. He has more than 15 years of practice, and he also has a lot of experience in other matters, including conflict management, which we think is very important, and especially because of the disputes that arise after elections. There was an objection to Mr. Evekon's appointment on the basis that he is closely related to the former governor of Turkana, Mr. Josephat Nanok. This was in a sworn statement, and therefore we are to deal with it. On the interrogation, Mr. Ethekon confirmed that he has no relationship whatsoever with Mr. Josephat Nanok, apart from work-related relationship. That at one time, he was appointed as the county attorney of Turkana, and he worked with Mr. Josephat Nanok. Even after Mr. Josephat Nanok left office, he continued working with the governor who is presently in that office, and therefore work-related relationship cannot be a bar to his becoming the chairperson. Otherwise, he demonstrated knowledge of electoral matters, he demonstrated knowledge of law, and he actually confirmed that he has the spine to deal with elections in the Republic, which are ordinarily very emotive. With those remarks, we were convinced that he suits to actually be the chairperson of the IEBC. The second person was Ms. Anne Jerry Deritu, who currently is the registrar of political parties. She has worked for over 10 years with the IEBC, where she rose to become a director. Therefore, in our view, we actually termed her as an insider, a person who knows how IEBC works. There was an objection to her nomination on the basis that she is a state officer. The person who objected stated that the appointment was contrary to the law because she is a state officer. And unfortunately, the law is clear, which is that you cannot be appointed when you are a state officer. The word used is appointment and not nomination. She was able to clarify to our satisfaction that she has not been appointed, she has only been nominated. The third person is Mr. Moses Alutalala Muhwana. Mr. Muhwana, who actually is an advocate of the High Court of Kenya with over 11 years experience. On top of that, he has been a teacher for a long time, amongst the many other things he has done. What struck the committee with satisfaction was his ability to communicate. Mr. Muhwana is a good communicator, especially when he started giving us his journey through life in Kiswahili. Eventually, he answered our questions in English. He is able to speak both languages in a manner that he will be able to relay matters of IEBC to the country when the time comes. So, to him, the gem he takes to IEBC is that of communication, and I hope he will make use of it, because the one reason Kenyans have a problem with IEBC, the trust issues we have with IEBC, is purely because communication is not as good. We want to hear what is happening at every step of everything, including awarding of contracts, so that nobody feels we are being shortchanged or somebody is trying to do things under the table with a view to delivering elections that are not credible, fair, and justifiable. Mr. Muhwana will fit that shoe so well. The fourth candidate was Mary Karen Sorobit, another advocate of the High Court of Kenya, who came in with experience from many institutions of the government, including the Advocates Complaints Commission, vetting of judges, and many other areas that she has served in for the last almost 20 years as an advocate. Mary Karen suits the position. We felt that as a lady again, she also gets now into the gender equality, which is very important, and also as a person from South Rift, then again, regional balance is achieved. The fifth person was Mr. Hassan Nur Hassan. Hassan Nur Hassan has worked in the public service for over 40 years. Although today he is not working with the public service, he has great knowledge in the matters public. He has great knowledge in the matters dispute and the conflict resolution, as he demonstrated. In fact, due to his age, we said the rest of them are young. We require somebody of his age to guide the commission, when the time comes. Therefore, in spite of objections raised to him, and there were many, including that he had been in the Rift Valley when there was the clashes, he was able to show that even when he was there and the clashes occurred, he was able to quell them, he was able to resettle these persons, and peace was restored. There was an objection to his relationship with a member of parliament. We will not discuss that much, apart from he is a brother-in-law to the member of parliament. Anything else was not material in the objection, because, as we have said, he is a senior citizen. In fact, his response was that he was where he is even before that member of parliament was born. So it is coincidental that one of them is married to the sister of the other, which does not affect, it does not impair his way of delivering results when it comes working for IEBC. With those reasons, we were convinced that his relationship to the member of parliament was actually not material to the way he was going to discharge his duties. Number 6 was Mr. Francis Odhiambo Aduol, a gentleman who has worked in the universities ever since time immemorial, with an advanced age, which we also felt was extremely useful for this commission. Number 1, he has great experience in quantity surveying, geospatial engineering, and many other matters he brought before us. He struck the nation because they were listening to him as a person who is highly knowledgeable in matters relating to the earth and the way you can subdivide the earth. All of you are looking forward to having constituencies delimited. And here is one person who is able to match the size of the constituency with the number of persons so that we are able to arrive at a fair and just decision. Therefore, Mr. Francis Aduol is suitable to be a member when it comes to exactly what Kenyans expect, which is fair representation on the basis of constituencies. We did not hesitate to approve Mr. Francis Odhiambo Aduol to become a member of the IEBC. Finally, there was a young lady who came from a place called Shela in Lamu. Young, she's 32 years old, and the first impression she created was that of a youth. Therefore, youths who have been extremely agitated, they have been anxious, they have been complaining that they do not get involved in such important matters like electoral matters, IEBC, etc. Now have one of their own in this particular commission. So, Ms. Fahima represents the youth.
There is a point of order.
Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I have heard the able chair of this committee refer to this lady, Fahima, and use the word she created the impression of being a youth. I thought you'd say she is a youth. That impression, that statement is misleading. So, and because we are on the floor of the House, can you correct that and say she is indeed a youth?
Murugara, did she create an impression or she's a youth?
No, she is a youth. Yes. She is actually a youth,
yes,
as required in law.
Yes.
All right? What the impression was, being 32, when she actually appeared, we thought she was in her 20s. Otherwise, she's 32 years old, extremely knowledgeable. No.
That is not a qualification.
That is not a point to be considered, Honorable. Although Honorable Farah kept on constantly repeating that one, and some members found it quite curious. When he gets a turn to speak, he will possibly speak on it. But this young lady has worked ever since she left.
Yes, Honorable Farah.
The Honorable Chair is casting aspersions on me. He doesn't know that my wives are watching this now. And he wants to land me in problem when I go back home. So
he's saying you have roving eyes.
Eh?
You have rolling eyes.
Thank you, Honorable Farah. The operative word is wives. The wives are watching, not wife. However, he observed it and let him just tell us something about it. This young lady has worked right from her days after university with Lamu County. She has been a ward admin. She has risen all the way today. She is the CECM finance in that county. So when we evaluated her, she actually met all the parameters that were required. Number one, she's a youth, we repeat. So the youths of the Republic of Kenya are taken care of. And they should not complain again that we, the elderly gentlemen or gentle ladies, are actually avoiding them when it comes to matters important as this one. Number two, she is a lady because she cannot be anything else. Gender. So the ladies have produced a youth who will represent the youths, both the men and the women. And this is extremely important. Number three, she's from a small community. Although by uni, she's a Shela, a small community in Lamu, not very developed, marginalized to some extent, but she has actually been able to rise to that important position. And number four, the education. She holds a degree from the university, Kenyatta University. She has worked in senior positions and she has demonstrated she is able to deliver. And our question was this: can she stand up and defend IEBC when it is under attack, especially by the youth? She demonstrated that she will be speaking directly to the youths. Matters IEBC. When they issue, when they are questioned, when there are questions to be answered, she will be speaking to the youths directly so that they can hear her and understand her. So, with those very many remarks, we looked at every one of them. We were satisfied that they suit the nominations given to them, and we did not again hesitate to approve all of them. With those remarks, Honorable Speaker, allow me kindly to beg and move and then request the senior counsel in the House, with the permission from my vice chair who is here. Yeah, these days, you know, we are broad-based and we have to be broad-based everywhere. With my vice chair who is here and is listening attentively. The senior counsel is no other than Honorable Otiende Amolo, the Member of Parliament for Arieda, who sat throughout, listened to these people writing the reports and everything else. Senior counsel, kindly, Mr. Speaker, allow me so that he seconds. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to second this special motion, and I thank my chairman, my vice chairman, and the other members for sacrificing not just their Saturday, but their Madaraka. For us, we had no Madaraka on this day because we sat throughout. Mr. Speaker, it's important that Kenyans and this House understands the context in which we are recommending all the nominees to be passed. First of all, Mr. Speaker, we had a very robust vetting session. It was covered live in most of the stations. We posed to the nominees all the questions that had been raised by those who had objected. And there were 3 people who objected, Dr. Gikenyi, Mr. Omondi, and Ms. Masinde. And it is their constitutional right to object. But we were satisfied that all the objections they had raised were sufficiently dealt with to our satisfaction. It is important also to note that in some cases, we actually had to recall some of the nominees for further clarification when some of the members also raised issues which looked like they were not sufficiently addressed. And they came back and answered those questions sufficiently. Mr. Speaker, let me just very briefly speak to some of this. I think the chairman has covered a lot of them. Let me start with the nominee for chair, Erastus Ethekon. It is important to note that for you to be chair of IEBC, you must be qualified to be a judge of the Supreme Court under Article 166. To be a judge of the Supreme Court, you need either to have practiced for 15 years as an advocate, or been a judicial officer for 15 years, or have done something relevant in the field of law. We were satisfied that this nominee had practiced for 22 years continuously. But in addition, the work he has done over the period, including his current station as an expert in the African Union Development Agency, NEPAD, in South Africa, qualifies him in any other relevant field of law. And that is why we have recommended him. Mr. Speaker, Madam Anne Deritu, objection was based on the fact that she is currently serving as the Registrar of Political Parties. Now, that was satisfied, Mr. Speaker, as explained by the Chair, on the issue that the disqualification is on appointment. And this nominee produced to us a ruling by our own Speaker of 4th December 2014, which has been religiously followed, that the disqualification comes at the point of appointment, and assured us that should she be successful, she will resign before appointment, and therefore it satisfied that objection. Mr. Speaker, Dr. Moses Alutalala is a man whose journey, who has had an odious educational odyssey, having qualified first as a primary school teacher with a diploma, and then rose through self-education to be one of the first parallel students in law. And his journey has been very long. But of note to us is the fact that he was admitted as an advocate in the year 2014 and was able to produce to us every practicing certificate each year since then. And that satisfies the idea of being a practitioner of at least 10 years. And that's why we were satisfied. Mr. Speaker, Mary Karen Sorobit has practiced law for 29 years. But an objection was raised that she may have been a member of the governing council of a political party, contrary to Article 88. This nominee was able to demonstrate to us that although she served as a deputy CEO in one of the political parties, she was never a member of the governing body, and went to the registrar of political parties and produced those who were members of the governing body for Jubilee since inception, and even for UDA, and therefore was able to demonstrate that she is not disqualified under that rubric. Hassan Nur Hassan is a gentleman with about 40 years in public administration as required by Section 6 of the IEBC Act. But of note was an objection that had been raised under Article 88(2)A, that he may have vied as a governor within the last 5 years. Mr. Speaker, Mr. Hassan was able to demonstrate to us by reading the express provisions of the Constitution that the disqualification only applies to members of parliament and MCAs, not those who vie for president, not those who vie for governor. Mr. Speaker, as a committee, we came to the conclusion that you cannot import a disqualification into the express provision of a text. And therefore, we were able to find that he was not disqualified. The other nominee is Professor Francis Aduol. Mr. Speaker, this Professor Francis Aduol was quite impressive. He is a professor of geospatial science and engineering. Shall I repeat? He's a professor of geospatial science and engineering. And part of his specialty, his first PhD, was on the study of the earth. And he told us he can actually tell where any of you are at any one point if he gets your phone number or something like that. But of importance is the fact that one of his areas is delimitation of boundaries. Delimitation, including the focus on what weight should be placed on population, size, and even poverty. And we came to the conclusion that of all the nominees, this nominee will be very helpful to the commission when it comes to the issue of delimitation. And we are all aware that we are immensely out of time on the question of delimitation. We are also all aware that it's a very emotive matter. It was important to note that Professor Duol has worked with all the bodies that have dealt with this issue, from the Interim Independent Boundaries Commission to the Committee of Experts to the IEBC and every other body. And therefore we had no hesitation in recommending him. Mr. Speaker, Fahima Abdallah, I think that the chairman has spoken to all that there is to speak. She ticks the three very important boxes: youth, minority, and gender, and has had at least 10 years in public administration. Mr. Speaker, this particular nominee was accompanied by her father, and one of the members had the courage to ask whether she was married or not, which was not part of our consideration. And I've heard Honorable Farah objecting that the chair is casting aspersion. But Mr. Speaker, I do not see any aspersions there, because I know Honorable Farah is allowed by religion more than one wife, to get even up to the fourth. And even after getting to the fourth, I am sure Honorable Farah is allowed by religion to divorce. Talak, talak, talak. So, so it means Honorable Farah remains permanently eligible.
There is a point. Honorable Farah.
Mr. Speaker, there seems to be a conspiracy against
You seem to have you seem to have exhibited some profane behavior.
No.
In the committee.
No. The senior counsel.
What is your point of order?
My point of order is that I did not say that this lady is single. You know what I mean? So, of course, somebody said.
What is your point of order? You are compounding the allegation. Because you seem to be very excited.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker.
Jeanette, what's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, I want to come to the aid of Honorable Farah. Because, Mr. Speaker, as you know, Honorable Farah is the cuckoo danger of Northern Kenya. Mr. Speaker, you know what I mean, Mr. Speaker?
Yes.
This is the real cuckoo danger, Mr. Speaker, the way you're seeing it.
Yes, Zamzam. Mama Zamzam.
Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi nataka niwaambie Mheshimiwa Tendo Amolo na wenzake, huyu ni mtoto wetu mrembo sana, mzuri, lakini hajakuja hapo masala ya ndoa, amekuja pale kuchapa kazi. Ni mwanamke, na wanawake wakionekana sehemu, sionekane ndoa tu, wapewe nafasi yao ya kuweza kujenga taifa. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Otienda Amolo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I actually agree with the Honorable Zamzam, but hasten to remind her that there is also a right to marry. So it's not excluded in the Constitution. And I am happy that Honorable Farah has sustained his excitement right from vetting to this committee. Mr. Speaker, I second.
Order member on the feet, take your seat. Who is that member with his back to the Speaker? Take your seat. Honorable members, I'll now propose the question at order number 10, which is that, taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs in its report on the vetting of nominees for appointment as chairperson and member of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 3rd June 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 252B of the Constitution, approves the appointment of the following persons to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC. 1. Erastus Edung Ethekon, chairperson. 2. Ann Nderitu Njeri, member. 3. Moses Alutalala Muhwana, member. 4. Mary Karen Sorobit, member. 5. Hassan Nur Hassan, member. 6. Francis Odhiambo Aduol, member. And 7, Ms. Fahima Arafat Abdallah, member. Kamket, how many honorable members, how long do you want us to take on this? How many? Let me allow some debate, and I'll call the mover to reply at 4:30. Yes, Kamket.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I thank you very much for the opportunity to contribute to this motion.
Honorable Kamket, I have a proposal from the minority whip that you can compress your contributions in 3 minutes. I'm sure you are capable of doing that, and everybody else. Kamket.
Indeed, Mr. Speaker, what if you cannot say it in 2 minutes or 3, then you better not say it. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for this opportunity. First of all, Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for the ruling you made that the vetting of these commissioners or proposed nominees continues, because the attempt to block Parliament would not have been constitutional. Mr. Speaker, the delay in the appointment or in the nomination of the IEBC has been very costly to this country. Indeed, Mr. Speaker, as I speak, I feel for the people of Banisa constituency, Msambweni constituency, Magarini constituency, Ugunja, Mbeere North, Malava, as well as the constituency of the nominated member left by Honorable John Badi. As well as, Mr. Speaker, the several ward vacancies that have been caused by the delay in the delay of the constitution of this commission. Mr. Speaker, when the IEBC, when we approve this commission, their hands will be full as they seek, Mr. Speaker, to look at, number one, the delimitation of boundaries in the constituencies. In fact, Mr. Speaker, one of the constituencies I believe, as we move forward, that needs to be divided into 3 is Tiaty constituency. Tiaty constituency deserves to have 3 members of parliament. It's not because that I'm not capable of representing Tiaty as it is now, but the size and the population, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, the commission needs time to look at the operationalization of the KIMS kits, because that is one of the major revolutionary achievements that we achieved as we reformed our constitution and we reformed the IEBC Act at the beginning. Mr. Speaker, one of the most important things in our election cycle is this thing called KIMS. And I want to tell all those lazy politicians who always want to blame the referee. Mr. Speaker, I have hardly spoken. And I see the red light is there. Mr. Speaker, it is important for any politician to understand that votes can only be found by hard work. All those politicians who come and blame the referee, Mr. Speaker,
Kainan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, from onset, let me say I support the approval of these 7 great Kenyans, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we do not have a perfect society. That's why God the Almighty, allowed us to submit to the will of God. And the will of God also allows us to have rules in the form of regulations, constitutions, and everything else. Mr. Speaker, having said this, these individuals have gone through all the due process. We have an election, we have a constitution, we have an election act, Mr. Speaker. The election act stipulates that we ought to have a panel. The panel mandate is clearly spelled out, Mr. Speaker. We have the Public Appointment Act. We have the vetting, the entire process. They have gone through, they have been subjected to public participation. The public have also had the right to say what they wanted to say. And ultimately, the concerned committee made a decision that these 7 individuals were eligible to be approved by this House. But Mr. Speaker, we must speak as Kenyans. We have politicized literally everything, Mr. Speaker, in this country. Isn't it the high time that we think out of the box and be prepared to contribute to the continued peace, stability, respect, and tranquility, Mr. Speaker, so that as a country, we are respected, we respect ourselves, we are respected regionally, we are respected continentally, and we are respected globally, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, right now, everything bad in this region, we have been projected as a society that ever complains. We have been projected as a society that does not believe in itself. We have been projected as a society that does not have faith in its own administrative mechanism. Mr. Speaker, I know managing elections is a very difficult time. The membership, out of the 7, quite a number of them come from the pastoral community. Wherever they are, I want to ask them this. You have been entrusted with a very important exercise. I may not talk to you individually, but collectively, we want you to carry the image of this republic. We want you to continue to project the respect the Kenyan people, through this parliament, have allowed you. Mr. Speaker, I do know right now that many people maliciously, capriciously, have tried to impute improper motive on these individuals. Mr. Speaker, I do know that once they are approved, and I pray that this other process is going to be shortened, they will carry the flag of this country high, they will project our image, they will continue to protect Kenya as a very important premier republic, and ultimately give us a credible election in 2027, Mr. Speaker.
Time up. Joseph Emathe, member for Turkana. Give him the mic.
Speaker, I want to thank you so much for this opportunity. First, allow me to thank the committee that was able to vet and bring out a good report of these people. Honorable Speaker, from the background, I want to speak to this man called Erastus Ethekon, the chair for IEBC. Honorable Speaker, this is a demonstration of equity, a demonstration of inclusion, and Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the committee plus those who were able to nominate him. Honorable Speaker, first, this is a rare gem, Honorable Speaker, and I will want to attach it to a hummingbird, that in the first northern frontiers of Kenya, we were able to get a man who was determined and was able to rise up from a humble background, from the dust, from areas that are excluded, from areas that are always denied an opportunity, to where he has become. Honorable Speaker, as a hummingbird again, Erastus was able to become the first breed of law students from Turkana. And Honorable Speaker, as a hummingbird, he was able to flap his wings very hard many times to be what he became and to even be interviewed in that panel. Honorable Speaker, second, Erastus has been able to even be interviewed as a judge for this country. An opportunity was not able to get, but given his background, Erastus rose to be interviewed in that committee or board. Honorable Speaker, as at now, I want to say as a hummingbird, this Erastus will be able to go fast and even be able to land at an opportune time. Second, this guy will be able to even maneuver in the darkness and be able to get the direction. And Honorable Speaker, this is a man that I know, given our democracy, he will be able to be acquitted with whichever that is required and be able to give us a drop of what it means to have a fair election. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I submit.
Zamzam.
Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika, na mimi niweze kupongeza kamati ambayo iliweza kuwapiga msasa hawa makamishna, wakahakikisha kuwa baada ya muda mrefu Wanakenya walikuwa wanauliza tunaelekea wapi, mwisho wakawapa jawabu kuwa ni hawa ambao wameteuliwa. Mheshimiwa Spika, niweze kuwapongeza makamishna wote ambao wameteuliwa wakiongozwa na mwenyekiti wao, na niseme kuwa kama Wanakenya tunafurahi kwa sababu tumeona wamechanganya. Leo tumepata chair ambaye ametoka katika jamii ambayo ni ya wachache, na hii inaonyesha kuwa Kenya tumekubali uongozi ni kutoka mahali popote. Mheshimiwa Spika, Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi hasa ninasimama kwa sababu ya mtoto wangu ama mwanangu ama niseme mtoto wa Pwani Faima ambaye ametoka katika jamii ndogo sana kule Shela. Mheshimiwa Spika, nilikuwa nafuatilia vetting yao wakati unapigwa msasa, na nilikuwa naangalia maswali vile yanavyoulizwa katika ile kamati, na nikasema huu mtoto ama youth amekuwa na ujasiri mkubwa sana na ameshika bendera ya vijana wetu katika taifa kwa kuweza kuonyesha kuwa pia vijana wana nguvu na ari ya kushika katika sehemu kama hizi ambazo ni sehemu kubwa sana katika taifa. Mheshimiwa Spika, mimi napenda kuombea Mungu, najua hino kazi na mitihani mingi sana, lakini nawaombea Mungu inshallah wakati ambapo utafika wa kuanza kufanya kazi zao, wao wanaweza kulindwa na Mwenyezi Mungu na wasimame na haki na usawa. Hatutaki kuangalia ama kuona maafa katika taifa, tunawategemea kutoa haki kwa wananchi. Na Faima, mimi nasema kama mama kaunti wa Mombasa, na kuombea Mungu sana. Umetuheshimisha wanawake, na umeheshimisha vijana. Ulizungumza kwa ujasiri, umeonyesha elimu yako ilipofikia, na mimi napenda sana na nimependezwa sana na kuombea Mwenyezi Mungu na azidi kukubariki pamoja na wenzako na Kenya izidi kuenda mbele. Kwa hiyo tuko tayari kwenye uchaguzi. Mheshimiwa Spika, asante sana.
Majority Leader.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, allow me also to rise in support of this motion for the approval of the nominees for the IEBC Commission. Honorable Speaker, first is worth noting, Honorable Speaker, that as much as the committee and the panel have done a very good job in vetting these nominees, first the panel in interviewing them and the committee in vetting them, we have been without an IEBC Commission now for the last almost 3 years. And we are indeed 3 years late in establishing an IEBC Commission. That's why, Honorable Speaker, I agree with you when you said that there is nobody under our Constitution who can injunct us from either vetting or approving these names. Honorable Speaker, I also want to speak to those who are in the judiciary to be considerate of the circumstances that we are in as a nation. Honorable Speaker, moving on to the nominees, it's saddening, Honorable Speaker, that because of politics, a number of us out there had started demonizing some of these nominees, largely on account of where they come from.
Although you are entitled 15 minutes, but I want you to be considerate and speak for much less.
I will endeavor to do that, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I was saying it was very inconsiderate also, now that I want to be considerate, to hear somebody who has held a high national office assert that Erastus, the nominee, Mr. Erastus Edung Ethekon, the nominee for chair, does not warrant to hold that position on account of where he comes from. It was sad, Honorable Speaker, that somebody can say because Erastus comes from a community that he perceives not to have shares or adequate shares in his own analysis that Ethekon does not deserve to chair this commission. Honorable Speaker, if you read through the CV of this gentleman, a master's in law from the University of Derby in the UK, a postgraduate, a bachelor's from the University of Nairobi in law. This is someone who qualifies to be a judge of the High Court or even the Supreme Court, Honorable Speaker, and that is all that is required in law. The law never required you to come from an ethnic community that pleases those who think that it is on the basis of your ethnicity that people should be given jobs. Honorable Speaker, I want to say Mr. Erastus Ethekon, wherever he comes from, whether he comes from Nyeri or from Turkana, he is a Kenyan. And it was rather unfortunate to hear the former deputy president, the impeached deputy president, and disgraced former deputy president, assert that Mr. Ethekon does not warrant to be nominated for this position on account of the community he comes from. I heard another one, Honorable Speaker, Martha Karua, saying that this Ethekon comes from some bush somewhere. Turkana is not a bush. It is part and parcel of our republic. And we must respect people not on the basis of where they come from, but on the basis of what the content of their heads. And I am sure this lawyer is a better lawyer than Martha Karua. By far, I am certain. He is a much better lawyer. Honorable Speaker, this county of Turkana has produced a very well-schooled individual, Honorable Speaker. And I speak about Ethekon because I heard him being attacked by these disgruntled political faces on account not on his qualifications, not on his ability or capacity to lead this commission, but largely on the basis of where he comes from. And it's rather sad that people who purport to have held national offices can demonize a whole community on the basis, or a person on the basis of the community they comes from. And I want to say this, Erastus, looking at his CV, just like the CVs of all these other nominees, are people who qualify to serve the Republic of Kenya as commissioners of an independent electoral and boundaries commission, Honorable Speaker. And as I said, we are rather late in establishing this commission, Honorable Speaker. Lastly, Honorable Speaker, to speak to those out there who are looking at these people on the basis of their ethnicities, on the basis of the villages they come from, let me tell them, you will never win an election on the basis of who is presiding over that election. You win elections based on what agenda you take to the people. If you take an agenda of
Honorable
ethnicity.
Joseph Ematha, you have already spoken on this. What is irritating you? Yes, what's your point of order?
Point of, Honorable Speaker, I beg if you will allow, and even to guide on this, that that thing has not been able to be responded well in my community. And we have the committee on cohesion. We also have a commission on the same. And Honorable Speaker, if that could be picked, if that could be picked as a country, because that
Honorable Mother, I gave you an opportunity to speak. You didn't even mention that. Take your seat.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Maybe I reminded the Honorable Member what was said of this great man from the lakeside of Turkana. And he's a great leader. And I was saying, Honorable Speaker, you never win an election based on who is presiding over that election. If you want to win an election, take your agenda to the people of Kenya. Speak to the people of Kenya. You will never win an election based on hatred. You will never win an election because you are showing bitterness to everybody, or belittling people from certain communities because you think the village you come from is more important than other villages in Kenya, Honorable Speaker. We all come from certain villages, and they are as important as your small village, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, this commission, as I said, we are 3 years late. And the sooner we approve, the sooner the president appoints, and the sooner this commission begins working, the better for this country, Honorable Speaker. Because there are people who are suffering in this country, lacking representation, Honorable Speaker. The people of Banisa, may I not remind you, Honorable Speaker, have sued you. Yes. Not anybody else, you as a Speaker of the National Assembly, because they lack representation in this House. And so are the other constituencies, Honorable Speaker, the people of Magarini, the people now of Kasipul, Kabondo, and many wards across the country where people are lacking representation simply because we do not have an IEBC. In fact, Honorable Speaker, any leader, whether in this house or outside there, who is not in support of this motion and the establishment of a new IEBC is an enemy to this republic, is an enemy to the people of Kenya. That is someone who does not wish this country well. And may I dare say, Honorable Speaker, even any person in the judiciary who would imagine that they would come into the way of stopping us from having an IEBC, you would not be acting in the best interest of the republic and the people of Kenya, Honorable Speaker. And therefore, may I also take this opportunity, Speaker, to plead with our judges and the judiciary, Honorable Speaker, to take what they call, or what you lawyers call, judicial notice of the circumstances that we are in as a country. We have by-elections pending. We have electoral delimitation to be done ahead of the elections. May I also remind us, ourselves, Honorable Speaker, the Kriegler Commission told us that at least 2 years before every election, we should have a commission ready. Honorable Speaker, we are slightly above that 2-year threshold. It is time we have a commission so that if there is the limitation that they will do, they are able to do that. If they have to register new voters, they need time to register new voters. They need to remove those who are deceased from the register of voters. And they need to clean up the register of voters in good time, so that when we defeat these hate mongers in the next elections, Honorable Speaker, they will have no excuse. Those who have a premonition that 2027, Honorable Speaker, as was said here in the adjournment motion by the leader of minority, those who imagined, Honorable Speaker,
point
that
of
would...
order from Chepkonga. What's your point of order?
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, you know, I was just listening very carefully to the majority leader, and I don't intend to interrupt him because he's saying very palatable things, Mr. Speaker. It is not impalatable. You know, he's saying very good things. The only thing that he has just said is that these nominees must be approved as soon as possible. Yeah. And I thought Standing Order 97 allows us to approve as soon as possible. Would I be in order, Mr. Speaker, to request you to call the mover to reply so that we approve as soon as possible?
Honorable Chepkonga,
Mr. Speaker, you had said 4:30.
I had already said at what time I'll call the mover to reply.
Yes.
Yes. So wind up.
I think, Honorable Speaker, Honorable Chepkonga was simply prompting me to close this so that we can approve these names as soon as possible, as he says, Honorable Speaker. And now I've even lost what I was saying. But Honorable Speaker, allow me to say that we need this commission as early or as soon as we can, Honorable Speaker, to allow this commission to get down to work. Honorable Speaker, in closing, I was saying, in 2 years' time, we'll have a general election, because that is time-bound, and we must have a general election. And therefore, we must work within the timeline that is given to ensure that the commission that we establish or the commission that we put in place has adequate time to put all the measures necessary to ensure that we have an election in 2027 that will be beyond reproach, so that we shame the hate mongers, the war mongers who have been threatening us that 2027 there will be more bloodshed than 2007, Honorable Speaker. Those war mongers, those bloodthirsty leaders, Honorable Speaker, or so-called leaders who do not deserve to be leaders, if they can imagine that the 2007 post-election violence was a Christmas party, Honorable Speaker, we must shame them today by approving these names, having a commission in place, and having credible elections in 2027. And I am certain we will beat them on the basis of an agenda that is pro-people, an agenda that is transforming lives across the country, as they move around the country spreading hatred, inciting Kenyans, showing a lot of bitterness, and imagining that Kenya will go into the abyss because of their anger and hatred for other Kenyans. With that, I beg to support, Honorable Speaker.
Members, I had said I'll call the mover to reply at 4:30. It's now 4:32. Murugara.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Members, you are all saying the same thing.
Yes. Thank you very much.
Those who have not spoken, those who have spoken for all of you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I join you actually in acknowledging all the members who have spoken and thanking them for their very valuable contributions. I know many of them would have also loved to say something about either all the nominated commissioners or a few of them. Honorable Farah was actually raring to say something, but we have spoken for him. My vice chair here, Honorable Mwengi Mutuse, was gearing to actually do a valuable contribution, and everybody else. Thank you so much for this. To the IEBC commissioners, we will approve your nominations this afternoon. But Kenyans are watching, and they are saying, if you do not have the spine to conduct elections, start growing one now. Because we have to have a fair, just, credible, verifiable election, which every Kenyan is going to be satisfied with. And those of us who may differ with those who are supporting, please do not make any threats to the country. We have our constitution, we have our laws, and we have institutions which we must have faith in. I know for sure there are trust issues with IEBC. It is the high time these 7 commissioners now grew the trust so that Kenyans can believe in this institution, which is very important for the country, known as the IEBC. Thank you so much. With those remarks, I beg to reply.
Members on their feet, take your seats. Honorable members, I now put the question at order number 10, which is the taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs in its report on the vetting of nominees for appointment. Order Murugara. Order. Let me put the question once more, which is the taking into consideration the findings of the Departmental Committee on Justice and Legal Affairs in its report on the vetting of nominees for appointment as chairperson and members of the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 3rd June 2025, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 252B of the Constitution, approves the appointment of the following persons to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC. 1. Erastus Edung Ethekon, chairperson. 2. Ann Deritu Njeri, member. 3. Moses Alutalala Muhwana, member. 4. Mary Karen Sorobit, member. 5. Hassan Nur Hassan, member. 6. Francis Odhiambo Aduol, member. 7. Fahima Arafat Abdallah, member. As members of that opinion say aye. Aye. Will those of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 11, motion. Ratification of the agreement under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea on the conservation